Egypt, the land of ancient gods, had fractured. Sacred traditions weakened. Ma'at, the principle of order, was no longer upheld. But to the south in Nubia, Africa remembered. From the kingdom of Kush came black African kings raised in the old ways. Led by King Piye, they did not come to plunder Egypt. They came to restore it. They rebuilt temples. They honored Egyptian gods. They ruled as pharaohs, recognized by Egypt's priesthood. Under Pharaoh Taharqa, Egypt flourished again. Yet their legacy was buried. This is the true story of the Nubian Pharaohs, black African rulers of Egypt. Full series coming soon.
Egypt, the land of ancient gods, had fractured. Sacred traditions weakened. Ma'at, the principle of order, was no longer upheld. But to the south, in Nubia, Africa remembered. From the kingdom of Kush came black African kings, raised in the old ways. Led by King Piye, they did not come to plunder Egypt. They came to restore it. They rebuilt temples. They honored Egyptian gods. They ruled as pharaohs, recognized by Egypt's priesthood. Under Pharaoh Taharqa, Egypt flourished again. Yet their legacy was buried. This is the true story of the Nubian Pharaohs, black African rulers of Egypt.
One Nile. One sacred order. From Nubia to Egypt, one river carried one people, one faith. The Nile connected Africa.
Nubia and Egypt. One Nile, one sacred order.
Nubia and Egypt. One civilization.
From Nubia. Restoration was coming to answer Egypt's collapse. From Nubia, Piye marched north to answer Egypt's collapse. Restoration was coming.
Egypt wasn't conquered, Egypt was rescued. But to understand why rescue was necessary, we must first understand what Egypt had become. By the 9th and 8th centuries BCE, Egypt was no longer unified. Power was divided among rival rulers in the Delta, Middle Egypt, and Upper Egypt. Authority fragmented, loyalty shifted, tradition weakened. This was not the Egypt of the old or new kingdoms. It was a civilization struggling to remember itself. During this period, Egypt was ruled by a series of Libyan dynasties, often referred to as the 22nd and 23rd dynasties. These rulers adopted Egyptian titles, but many lacked deep commitment to Egypt's religious foundations. Power became personal rather than sacred. Kingship became political rather than spiritual. Egypt still stood, but its soul was fading. Central to Egyptian civilization was Ma'at, the sacred principle of balance, truth, order, and justice. Pharaohs were not merely rulers. They were guardians of Ma'at. But when temples were neglected, when rituals were abandoned, when rulers ruled without reverence, Ma'at collapsed. Temples, the heart of Egypt's spiritual economy, fell into disrepair. Offerings declined. Priestly authority weakened. The covenant between the people, the gods, and the land frayed. For ancient Egyptians, this was not simply political decline. It was cosmic danger. It is important to be clear, the Egyptians of this period were black Africans of the Nile Valley. Archaeology, art, skeletal remains, and mummified bodies consistently show populations with African features, long before Greek or Roman rule. This was not a foreign civilization waiting to be civilized. It was an African civilization in need of restoration. Egypt did not fall because it was weak. It fell because it lost alignment. What it needed was not invasion, but renewal. And that renewal would come from the south, from a civilization that still honored Ma'at. From Nubia, Kush, came kings who remembered what Egypt had forgotten. In the next episode, we meet the man who answered that call, King Piye. Egypt wasn't conquered. Egypt was rescued.
Egypt was not saved by force alone. It was restored by faith. When Egypt forgot Ma'at, one king from the south still remembered. His name was Piye. South of Egypt lay Kush, a kingdom rooted in ancient Nile Valley traditions. Here, Ma'at was still honored. The Egyptian gods were still revered. Kingship was still sacred. Piye was raised not merely as a ruler, but as a guardian of divine order. News from Egypt reached Nubia, rulers squabbling, temples neglected, offerings ignored. For Piye, this was not politics. It was sacrilege. Egypt was out of alignment, and Ma'at demanded restoration. Piye did not march north as a conqueror seeking tribute. He marched as a restorer. Before battle, Piye fasted. He prayed. He purified himself in the waters of the Nile. Victory, he believed, came from righteousness, not numbers. When Piye entered Egypt, something remarkable happened. Egyptian priests welcomed him. They recognized his devotion to Ammonius, his respect for ritual. Piye was not rejected as an outsider. He was accepted as a legitimate pharaoh. Piye recorded his campaign on what we now call the Victory Stela, but this inscription does not boast of slaughter. Instead, Piye condemns rulers who neglected temples, ignored the Egyptian gods. His harshest words were reserved not for rebellion, but for impiety. Piye allowed defeated rulers to remain in power if they restored temples and honored the Egyptian gods. This was not revenge. It was correction. Authority was conditional on righteousness. Piye's vision was larger than Egypt. He saw the Nile Valley as a spiritual continuum. Nubia and Egypt were not enemies. They were kin. Piye restored order, but restoration did not end with him. Next, Pharaoh Taharqa. Egypt wasn't conquered. Egypt was restored.
Battles. But Piye fought rulers who defied the gods. Impiety, not rebellion.
There were battles. But Piye fought rulers who defied the gods. Impiety, not rebellion.
Assyria pressed toward the Nile.
Piye entered Egypt, and the priests welcomed him as pharaoh.
Piye entered Egypt, and the priests welcomed him as pharaoh.
Piye made sure the record survived.
Not conquest. Piye made sure the story was carved into stone.
Rituals revived. Ma'at returned.
Rituals revived. Ma'at returned.
Temples restored. Rituals revived. Order returned. Egypt aligned.
Temples restored. Order returned. Egypt aligned. Restored.
Restoration had a beginning, but it also had a peak. Under one ruler, Nubian leadership over Egypt reached its fullest expression, in stone, in power, and in vision. His name was Taharqa. Taharqa ruled at a time when Egypt remembered what greatness looked like. Across the Nile Valley he built and rebuilt. Temples at Karnak, Luxor, Memphis, and Jebel Bakol rose again. Not as nostalgia, but as declaration. Egypt was aligned, and Nubia stood at its center. Taharqa ruled not simply by inheritance, but by legitimacy. He upheld Ma'at, balance, truth, justice, and sacred order. The priesthood supported him. The temples flourished. The Nile Valley recognized his authority, but Taharqa's reign was not defined by peace alone. From the northeast came the expanding power of Assyrian Empire. They sought control, tribute, submission. Taharqa refused. Taharqa did not seek expansion for its own sake. His wars were defensive, protecting Egypt and Nubia from imperial absorption. He fought to preserve sovereignty, to protect sacred order, to keep Africa free. Taharqa's vision extended beyond borders. He ruled Egypt and Nubia as a single Nile Valley civilization, spiritually unified, culturally continuous. This was not foreign rule, it was African continuity. Later empires would tell a different story. Greek chroniclers, Roman historians, colonial scholars, Nubian pharaohs were minimized, reframed, or erased, not because they failed, but because they resisted. Nubian rule over Egypt eventually receded, but retreat is not the same as defeat. Taharqa's reign proved something enduring. Africa could restore, govern, and defend one of the greatest civilizations the world has ever known. The fall of the Nubians was not failure, it was resistance.
He built. Temples rose across Egypt and Nubia. Stone remembers. He built. Temples rose across Egypt and Nubia. Stone remembers.
He built. Temples rose across Egypt and Nubia. Stone remembers.
Wasn't seized. Ma'at upheld.
Power wasn't seized.
Assyria pressed toward the Nile. Africa resisted.
Empire approached. Assyria pressed toward the Nile. Africa resisted.
From the northeast, a powerful empire advanced. The armies of the Assyrian Empire were expanding across the ancient world. Their campaigns pushed toward the Nile Valley, where Egypt and Nubia stood under the rule of Taharqa. This was not a distant threat, it was approaching Egypt itself. Taharqa's forces prepared. Nubian and Egyptian soldiers stood together along the Nile. Their goal was not conquest, but defense. The coming wars would be difficult. Empires rarely turn away easily, but the Nile Valley would not surrender without resistance. Under Taharqa, Egypt and Nubia stood together against empire. Research, learn, remember. In the 7th century BCE, one of the most powerful empires of the ancient world pushed toward the Nile Valley. The armies of the Assyrian Empire advanced across the Near East. Along the Nile, Nubia and Egypt stood together under Pharaoh Taharqa. Their goal was not conquest, it was a powerful act of defense. For Taharqa, sovereignty mattered. The Nile Valley was more than territory, it was a civilization worth defending. This was not conquest, it was resistance. And the Nile Valley would not surrender easily. Research, learn, remember, check out our YouTube channel, and join the community. In the 7th century BCE, one of the most powerful empires of the ancient world pushed toward the Nile Valley. The armies of the Assyrian Empire advanced across the Near East. Along the Nile, Nubia and Egypt stood together under Pharaoh Taharqa. Their goal was not conquest, it was a powerful act of defense. For Taharqa, sovereignty mattered. The Nile Valley was more than territory, it was a civilization worth defending. This was not conquest, it was resistance. And the Nile Valley would not surrender easily. Research, learn, remember, check out our YouTube channel, and join the community. Taharqa stood against empire he would not break. But what happens when empire refuses to stop? The Nile would witness the answer. This is the outcome of resistance, a clash of ancient powers. Under Taharqa, Egypt and Nubia did not collapse. They stood. They resisted. They held the line for their people. The Nile Valley held its ground. The line did not break, forcing one of the greatest empires in history to slow its advance. Mud and marsh became our weapons. The Nile Valley was coordinated. Logistics and training held the frontier. But empires do not retreat easily. They returned with greater numbers. The Assyrians regrouped, forging new weapons for a long campaign, returning with greater force, greater numbers, and relentless pressure. This was not a single battle. A storm was gathering over the Nile. It was a long and relentless campaign. Ancient cities were reaching their limit. Eventually, the balance shifted. The city of Memphis, one of Egypt's most important centers, fell, not because Egypt was weak, but because empire was persistent. Shadow and pressure changed everything. Taharqa did not surrender. He was a king preserving sovereignty. He withdrew. The resistance would move south to the heartland, south, back to Nubia. The resistance would not fade, not as a defeated king, but as a leader of his people, but as a ruler preserving his people, his culture, and his sovereignty. The Assyrians took territory, but they look out of place in this ancient world. But they did not take Nubia. The cataracts held them back. They did not erase its identity. Life in Meroe remained vibrant and sovereign. They did not end its civilization. The culture was preserved in stone. Nubia remained sovereign, unbroken, eternal. History often calls this a fall, but that is not what happened. Look into the eyes of resistance. Taharqa resisted one of the most powerful empires of the ancient world and forced them to fight for every step. They were exhausted. The fall of the Nubians was not failure, it was resistance. Africa resisted, sovereignty mattered, and centuries later, a new frontier would emerge. Nubia would face another empire and refuse again. Learn, research. Remember, the story of Africa is deeper than we were taught. Sources in the pinned comment. Subscribe and follow Great Moments Africa on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram to join the community discussion. Comment below. Have you heard this part of history before? Or which empire should we uncover next? And now you can also support Great Moments Africa as part of our Patreon at patreon.com/CC Wakanda Meetup. Taharqa stood against empire, but what happened when empire refused to stop? Egypt and Nubia held their ground. The Assyrians were slowed, and Taharqa proved his strength. But empire is persistent. The Assyrians regrouped, pushing harder with a scale and persistence never seen before. Pressure mounted, Memphis fell, and control began to shift under the weight of imperial force. Taharqa didn't collapse, he withdrew south. While the north was lost, Nubia remained independent, secure in the heartland of Kush. He forced the greatest empire of the ancient world to fight for every step. History is bigger than you were taught. The fall of the Nubians was not failure, it was resistance. Learn, research, remember. Sources in the pinned comment. Follow Great Moments Africa on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And now you can support our journey on Patreon. History is bigger than we were taught, and now you know.